normocytic anemia. The causes of hemolysis in the normocytic anemia are healthy spherocytosis, autoimmune diseases, toxin infections, hemolytic uremic syndrome, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, hypertension, and cardiac disease. Uh, Now there are some congenital causes of anemia, like Diamond-Blackfan syndrome. It's a rare cause of anemia. There is congenital bone marrow failure in infancy. And the second one is Diamond-Blackfan anemia. There is pure cell aplasia. There is normocytic anemia, reticulocytopenia, and absence of red blood cell precursors. Other cells lines are normal, and about 50% of the affected infants have extra hematopoietic anomalies. Clinical findings they present in infancy with pallor, anemia, congestive heart failure. And cranial abnormalities are microcephaly, hypertelorism, snub nose, high arch pallor, cleft pallor, congenital glaucoma, congenital cataracts, strabismus, the absent kidneys or horse to kidneys. There is short stature, triphasian palm flat, thinner eminence, graded pulse may be absent. इंदिरा चेक कर दी वहां से अभी अच्छा diagnosis of Diamond-Blackfan anemia. There is a macrocytic anemia, and but there are no other features of megaloblastic anemia. Reticulocytopenia is there, normal platelets and white cells are there. Fetal hemoglobin increase and erythrocyte adenosine deaminase level increase. Fetal antigen is present, and bone marrow shows absence or decrease in erythropoiesis. Management is corticosteroid. They improve the erythropoiesis in 80% of the cases, or a patient can be put on chronic transfusion therapy, or the hemopoietic stem cells transplantation is curative. Then there is a transient erythroblastopenia of childhood, and this is the most common acquired red cell aplasia in children. And there is transient hypoplastic anemia in previously healthy children in the ages of 6 months to 3 years. And the most common presentation is pallor in a relatively well child. Diagnosis is that in the RBC morphology there is normocytic anemia with low reticulocyte count. There is no hemolysis, no beta-splenomegaly or lymphadenopathy. Home stress is negative and RBC adenosine deaminase levels are also normal. Bone marrow shows isolated absence of RBC precursors and without other disorders. Management is usually resolved by 4 to 8 weeks, and we have to monitor the signs of cardiac decompensation in cases of severe anemia, and transfusion may be needed occasionally, and we have to monitor CBC and recovery is preceded by increasing the reticulocyte count. Now, this is the most important anemia, the iron deficiency anemia. 40 to 60% of our population is having iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia is a disorder characterized by microcytic hypochromic anemia due to iron deficiency. It is the most common hematological disease of infancy and childhood. Rapid growth, insufficient dietary intake, and limited absorption of dietary iron combine to place the children at increased risk for iron deficiency. So, children, as they are having rapid growth and they are not taking proper diet containing iron, and sometimes there is limited absorption of dietary iron due to some other factors like malabsorption, chronic diarrhea. So these children are at increased risk for iron deficiency. Iron is necessary for many biological functions in the body. Most of the iron is found in hemoglobin, where it takes part in oxygen transport. Iron is necessary for growth and replacement of daily iron losses. Iron is transported in plasma by transferrin. Iron stores are present in liver, bone marrow, and spleen in the form of ferritin, from which iron can be mobilized readily. The body of a newborn infant contains 0.3 to 0.5 gram of iron. and the adult iron content is 5 gram. And to approach adult level, 0.8 to 1.5 milligram of iron must be dropped each day from the diet. As less than 10% of the dietary iron is dropped from the diet, so 8 to 15 milligram of iron daily is necessary nutrition. So daily requirement of iron is 8 to 15 milligram of iron per day. Iron deficiency progresses slowly. Initially, iron stores are depleted, although the red blood cells production continues. The red cell distribution with RDW is the earliest detectable laboratory change. This is a measure of the variation in the size of RBCs and can be used to detect increase in isocytosis. So RDW greater than 14.5% is consistent with iron deficiency. So first change is the change in the red cell distribution width, which is increased, and it is usually greater than 14.5%, which shows that it is iron deficiency. As iron stores are depleted further, serum ferritin levels decline. Serum ferritin is an accurate indicator of the tissue iron stores. And in iron deficiency, serum ferritin levels are less than 8 to 12 microgram per liter. As iron deficiency continues, serum iron decreases to less than 30 microgram per deciliter. So for investigation, we have to know the serum ferritin level and also serum iron and iron binding capacity, as well as RDW value. Total iron binding capacity measures the amount of iron that can bind to the serum protein. As iron stores are depleted, the total iron binding capacity begins to increase. Transferring saturation provides a measure of the iron available for hemoglobin synthesis. Hemoglobin synthesis is impaired at the saturation of 10 to 15% of transfer. Iron is absorbed more efficiently from human milk than cow's milk. So the diets of formula fat or cow milk fed infants should include iron fortified cereals or formulas to prevent iron deficiency. Newborn infants has iron stored for blood formation for the first 6 to 9 months of life. Therefore, the dietary iron deficiency is uncommon before 9 to 24 months. Infants with iron deficiency anemia usually have history of consumption of large amounts of cow's milk and carbohydrates unsupplemented with iron. Blood loss also must be considered in the history. Iron deficiency has adverse effects on behavior and cognitive function, leading to apathy, irritability, poor concentration. These results from alterations of iron-containing enzymes like monoamine oxidase and cytochromes. Now, what is the etiology of iron deficiency? Nutritional deficiency. Mothers are anemic and they are getting repeated pregnancies. So, if the mothers are anemic, they don't have enough iron stores, so less iron is transferred to the fetus. Increased iron demands, like in the preterm babies, low birth weight babies, congenital heart disease, and like failures of tetralogy. Prolonged breastfeeding, cow's milk, poor weaning, no meat or green vegetable in the diet, and impaired absorption of iron in cases of malabsorption and celiac disease. So the causes of nutritional are if the mother is very anemic, if there is increased demand, or if there is prolonged breastfeeding and patient is taking more of cow's milk, and if there is poor weaning and there is impaired absorption due to malabsorption or celiac disease. Blood loss in the neonates can be feto-maternal transfusion, the blood going from fetus to the mother, or twin-twin transfusion in cases of twins. Obstetric complications such as placental abruption or placenta previa, bleeding from the umbilical cord, hemorrhagic disease of the newborn due to vitamin K deficiency, cow milk protein allergy. These all conditions lead to blood loss from the neonate. In children, hookworm infestation, Meckel's diverticulum, peptic ulcer disease, and rectal polyps and inflammatory bowel disease lead to iron deficiency. Mild iron deficiency is relatively Asymptomatic. Now I am telling you the clinical features of iron deficiency anemia. So mild iron deficiency is relatively asymptomatic. As it becomes more severe, the infant manifests irritability, anorexia, lethargy, and easy fatigability. In the signs, the milk-fed infant is fat, pale, and sallow, having sallow complexion. Other findings include tachycardia, systolic murmur. Uh, if the anemia is very severe, hemoglobin is less than 3 gram per deciliter, there may be signs of congestive cardiac failure like calophysium, cardiomegaly, distended neck veins, hepatomegaly, and in the lower chest, crepitations of veins. Now, how to investigate a case of iron deficiency? Hemoglobin level is low. The reticulocyte count is normal or minimally elevated. Leukocyte count is normal. RBC shows microscopic hypochromic anemia with anisocytosis and poikilocytes. So this is a blood smear of iron deficiency anemia. On the left is the normal blood picture. On the right side is abnormal. You can see the RBCs are looking vacuolated. There is less amount of hemoglobin, so they look like vacuolated. In the investigation, we have to check for the mean corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular hemoglobin, and mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, which are all reduced. Serum iron level is decreased, iron binding capacity, and that is the transferrin level is increased, and the percentage of the saturation is low, usually less than 20%. Serum ferritin level is decreased, which is a reflection of low iron stores in the bone marrow. And bone marrow examination usually is not required, but when performed, it shows micro normoblastic hyperplasia of the erythroid elements and decrease or absence stable iron in the bone marrow. Treatment goal of therapy is to return the hemoglobin to physiological levels. The first of all is the iron therapy. Mild to moderate anemia without signs of cardiac decompensation can be managed by administration of oral iron. Oral iron is given at a dose of 3 to 6 milligram per kg per day of the elemental iron. The medicinal iron should be administered between meals to ensure good absorption. After starting iron therapy, there is a rapid subjective improvement in the neurological function within 1 to 2 days as the enzymes are replaced, first of all. And then the reticulocytes begin to increase within 2 to 3 days. And then the hemoglobin begins to increase within 4 to 30 days. And the rate of hemoglobin rise is about 0.5 gram per day. It takes about 1 to 3 months for repletion of the iron stores. So treatment is continued for a period of 2 to 3 months after the hemoglobin level has returned to normal. This allows replenishment of tissue iron stores. Parenteral iron administration is used occasionally when there is diarrhea or poor compliance. Total dose is calculated as milligram of iron is equal to desired level of hemoglobin in gram per deciliter into the weight in grams into 3. Dietary counseling should be given. In infants given iron fortified milk formula, especially at feeding age gives egg, meat, apple juice, and green vegetables. Blood transfusion is needed in severe anemia with signs of cardiac decompensation. Packed red blood cells are given in a dose of 2 to 3 ml of packed RBCs per kg and transfused very slowly and repeated after 12 to 24 hours is necessary. We have to correct the cause of chronic blood loss. Suppose if there is common protein allergy, then we have to change the common formula and correct underlying disorders like malabsorption and chronic diabetes. Now, this is the second cause for anemia, the macrocytic megaloblastic anemia. Megaloblastic anemia is macrocytic anemia caused by deficiency of vitamin B12 or cobalamin, folic acid, or both. Megaloblastic anemia is characterized by abnormal morphology and maturation of erythrocytes. The nucleated erythrocytes have an open, finely dispersed arrangement of chromatin and asynchronous maturation of nucleus and cytoplasm. And the disordered synthesis of DNA and megaloblastic cells have increased amount of RNA relative to the DNA. Now, the vitamin B12 deficiency, this is caused by dietary insufficiency in the breastfed infants of mothers who are strict vegetarians or who have pernicious anemia. Or if there is intestinal malabsorption, it occurs as it occurs in the Crohn's disease, chronic pancreatitis, bacterial overgrowth of the small intestine, infection in the diphyllobothrium or fish tapeworm, or after surgical resection of the terminal ileum. Pernicious anemia, a rare cause of malabsorption of vitamin B12 due to deficiency of intrinsic factor, can be there, and deficiency of vitamin B12 due to inborn errors of metabolism like transcobalamin 2 deficiency and thymolinic acid urea. And these are very rare causes. Folic acid deficiency. It is caused by inadequate dietary intake or ingestion of goat's milk, malabsorption, increased folate requirement like rapid growth, chronic hemolytic anemias, anticonvulsant medication like phenytoin, barbitol, and cytotoxic drugs like methotrexate. So these all can lead to folic acid deficiency if there is inadequate dietary intake or increase malabsorption, or if there is increased folate requirement as in rapid growth, or if the patient is taking anticonvulsants or cytotoxic drugs. These are they can cause folic acid deficiency. And the prematurity is also another cause for folic acid deficiency. What are the clinical features in infants? There is pallor, mild jaundice, tongue is smooth and leafy red, irritability, poor feeding. In older children, pallor, paresthesia, weakness, or an unsteady gait, decreased vibratory sensation, and proprioception. Laboratory investigations. There is increased mean corpuscular volume or MCV and mean corpuscular hemoglobin, and numerous macrovalocytes with inisocytosis and poikilocytosis are seen on the peripheral blood film. Neutrophils are large with hypersegmented nuclei. WBC count and platelet counts are normal with mild deficiencies, but in severe cases they may be decreased. Bone marrow shows erythroid hyperplasia with large erythroid and myeloid precursors, nuclear cytoplasmic dissociation, and ineffective erythropoiesis is seen. Serum indirect bilirubin concentration may be slightly raised. In vitamin B12 deficiency, there is low serum vitamin B12 level. Serum level of intermediate metabolites like methylmalonic acid and homocysteine are more helpful for the diagnosis. Now, this is a peripheral blood smear of a macrocytic galoblastic anemia, and you can see that red cells are larger in size, and you can see one leukocyte, polymorphonucleus leukocyte with hypersegmented nucleus. This is hypersegmented nucleus of the folies. In the folic acid deficiency, red cell folate levels are decreased. Now, treatment is folic acid is given in 1 to 5 milligram per day for 3 to 4 weeks, or vitamin B12 is given 1 milligram intramuscular for 2 to 3 days, and is given according to the cause of megaloblastic anemia. Folic acid should not be given in patients with megaloblastic anemia until a diagnosis of folate deficiency has been made. Folic acid is contraindicated to be given in B12 deficiency. So folic acid should not be given in B12 deficiency cases, and blood transfusion is necessary if anemia is severe. Now the third most common is acquired aplastic anemia. Acquired aplastic anemia is characterized by peripheral cytopenia with hypocellular bone marrow less than 30% of the cellularity. Approximately 50% of the cases in childhood are idiopathic. Aplastic anemia is due to reduction in the number of pluripotent stem cells. Failure of one cell line may occur, resulting in isolated deficiencies such as absence of red cell precursors, impure red cells aplasia. Severe aplastic anemia is defined as a condition in which two or more cell components have become seriously compromised. That is, an absolute neutrophil count more less than 20,000 and reticulocyte count less than 1% after correction of the hematocrit in a patient whose bone marrow biopsy is hypocellular. What is the etiology of aplastic anemia? Idiopathic. 50% of the cases are idiopathic. The secondary causes are due to drugs or chemicals, cytotoxic agents, chlorphenicol, phenylbutazone, sulfonamides, insecticides, novalgine. It was previously being used for pain. Sodium valproate we are using in epilepsy, cimetidine, and gold salts. These can lead to bone marrow suppression. So they should be used carefully. Then viruses like Epstein-Barr virus, hepatitis virus, human immune deficiency virus, parvovirus, some cases of leukemia, radiation, and thymoma can also lead to aplastic anemia. What is a pathophysiology? Aplastic anemia is due to destruction or dysfunction of the pluripotent stem cells, which are the progenitors of erythrocytes, blastocysts, monocytes, and granulocytes. Pathophysiology. Every third of aplastic anemia has an autoimmune disorder that is mediated through an inhibitive process involving T lymphocytes. Many drugs, infections, and environmental factors are associated with aplastic anemia. Ionizing radiation, some chemicals, and many anti-neoplastic drugs are directly toxic to the bone marrow. Some drugs produce idiosyncratic reactions, for example, chlorphenicol, anti-inflammatory drugs, and anti-convulsant drugs. The clinical manifestations of aplastic anemia. Signs and symptoms of aplastic anemia depend on the degree of pancytopenia. Acquired pancytopenia is usually characterized by anemia, leukopenia, and thrombocytopenia with consequent pallor, increased fatigue, cardiac failure, infections, and bleeding. So, patient will be having pallor, increased fatigue, cardiac failure, if there is severe anemia, infections, and bleeding. And in the aplastic anemia, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, and lymphadenopathy are not seen. ये पास सुने जरा, ये थोड़ी थोड़ी देर बाद आता है, जो वीडियो वाले के ऊपर ना क्रॉस लगा होता है वो नहीं, फेस तो नहीं शेयर करना, अभी आएगा कुछ देर बाद आता है वो, फेस नहीं शेयर करना, तो वो ठीक है, अच्छा सही है, थैंक यू. Diagnosis. Anemia is usually normocytic with low reticulocyte count, less than 1%. White blood cells count is low with marked neutropenia. At times, the count may be less than 1500 per cubic millimeter. Platelet count is typically below 50,000 per cubic millimeter and frequently below 20,000 per cubic millimeter. Bone marrow aspiration and biopsy is essential to diagnose and show hypocellularity. There is decrease in the erythroid, myeloid, and myeloproliferative series, often marked with a marrow space replaced with fat. The presence of more than 70% lymphocytes have poor prognosis. Now, this is the aplastic anemia blood picture. You can see the very few neutrophils in this. And this is bone marrow in aplastic anemia. These empty spaces, they are actually bone marrow replaced by fat. Treatment of acquired aplastic anemia needs comprehensive supportive care, and we have to remove exposure to hazardous drugs or toxins. A febrile illness requires prompt evaluation and parenteral antibiotics. Or packed and blood cells should be transfused. Platelet transfusions are given for bleeding. Bone marrow transplantation is a treatment of choice in patients with severe aplastic anemia. Immunosuppression, usually with anti-thymocyte globulin, cyclosporine, and corticosteroids, can be done. This combination therapy results in partial remission in 65% of the cases. Or we can use hemopoietic colony stimulating factors. Androgens, cyclophosphamide, plasmapheresis, IVIG, anti-thymocyte globulin, and recombinant interleukin C and gene therapy are also being tried. Now I will teach you the second part, the hemolytic anemias. Hemolytic anemias except thalassemia. Except for thalassemia, I will be teaching you hemolytic anemias except thalassemia. एक्सक्यूज मी बात सुने वो जो दूसरा टॉपिक है वो कैसे आएगा? ओपन किया हुआ किधर है? लेकिन मैंने देख के पढ़ना ना, मुझे खोल के देना आपको। ये मैम, हाँ करा दिया था इसको, उस पर करो स्लाइड पे ना। ठीक है, थैंक यू। Now the second topic is hemolytic anemias except the thalassemias. The one is common cause for hemolytic anemia is D6PD deficiency, and this is the most common red cell enzyme defect that causes hemolytic anemia. It is an X-linked successive inheritance, so it is more common in males. Deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatidylginase is there, and there are two types of condition. Acute condition, it is more common and manifested by hemolytic episode induced by drugs or infections, and chronic condition is rare and it is non-spherocytic hemolytic anemia. So one is acute condition, which is manifested by hemolytic episode by use of infections, by use of drugs or by induced by infections. And the second one is a chronic condition. Pathophysiology. Lysis-mediated inhibition cells do not generate reduced glutathione. RBCs are not protected from oxidant drugs, agents, and exposed sulfided groups of hemoglobin are oxidized. And there is desaturation of hemoglobin. Heme and globin moieties dissociate, leading to hemolysis. Globin precipitates as Heinz body, Damaged red cells are removed by reticuloendothelial endothelial system, and severely damaged RBCs are realized intravenously. So there may be intrarectal hemolysis. Hemolysis occurs usually when the patient is exposed to oxygen drugs. The degree of hemolysis depends on the drug, the amount ingested, and the severity of the enzyme deficiency. In most cases, enzyme deficiency is due to inability of the abnormal instability of the abnormal enzyme, and older cells are thus more deficient than younger ones. Synthesis of red blood cells, G6PD, is determined by the genes on the X chromosome, thus disease is more common in males. What medications can lead to hemolysis in G6PD deficient patients are sulfonamides, dapsone, trimethoprim sulfone, methoxazole, that is our Cepton, nalidixic acid, chloramphenicol, nitrofurantoin, and primaquine. In the chemicals, vitamin K analogs and methylene blue, probenecid, acetylsalicylic acid, naphthalene, mothballs. These can lead to hemolysis in B6PD deficient variant. Any illness like diabetic acidosis, hepatitis, and sepsis may also lead to hemolysis in G6PD deficient patients. Now, what are the clinical findings? Children with G6PD deficiency may have hyperbilirubinemia. Older children with G6PD deficiency are asymptomatic and appear normal between episodes of hemolysis. The triggering event is the intake of the drugs such as antipyretics or antimalarials. After about 24 to 48 hours after the injection of oxygen substance, there is pallor, jaundice, hemoglobinemia, and hemoglobinuria. And intravascular hemolysis occurs, and there is cardiovascular compromise. Hemolytic episodes may also be triggered by infection. Investigation: hemoglobin level is reduced maybe as low as 2 to 5 grams per deciliter. During examination reveals hemoglobinuria, bilirubin level is raised, and the peripheral blood smear may be Haynes bodies. Diagnosis: history of previous episode, family history, demonstration of low G6PD level below 15%, and immediately after hemolysis, the level can be normal. Presence of young RBCs and radiculocytes are there after hemolysis, and they have normal G6PD level. So we don't do this test just after hemolysis. We do it after some weeks, and this retesting after 2 weeks may confirm the diagnosis. This is the blood picture of G6PD deficiency anemia, and you can see the hemolysis, poikilocytosis, and abnormal RBC shape. Management: avoiding or discontinuing oxygen drugs. Infections are treated by antibiotics. Most episodes of hemolysis are self-limiting, and supportive therapy is needed. Blood transfusion in cases of severe hemolysis is done. Prognosis: most cases are self-limiting. With severe hemolysis, death may occur. Now, this is also a hereditary cause of anemia. This is hereditary spherocytosis. It is inherited hemolytic anemia. It is the most common inherited abnormality of the RBC membrane. So there is membrane defect in the hereditary. There is membrane defect in hereditary spherocytosis. What is the etiology? Hereditary spherocytosis usually is an autosomal dominant disorder, 75% of the cases. Remaining cases are autosomal recessive or new mutation. The most common molecular defects are abnormalities of the spectrin and carnine, which are major components of the cytoskeleton responsible for RBC shape. So there is abnormality of spectrin and carnine, which are the major components of the cytoskeleton of the RBC membrane, and to keep its shape. Decreased deformability of the spherocytic RBC impairs the cell passage from the splenic cord to the splenic sinuses. Spherocytic RBCs are destroyed by the spleen. What are the clinical findings in hereditary spherocytosis? In the newborn, due to hemolysis, there is anemia and hyperbilirubinemia. Older children present with pallor, jaundice, fatigue, and exercise intolerance. Rare cases may have marked expansion of the diploe of the skull and medullary region of the bones. Spleen is usually large and pigmentary. Gallstones may form at 4 to 5 years of age. The ithroid marrow failure may result in severe anemia, high output cardiac failure, hypoxia, cardiovascular collapse, and death. This marrow failure usually occurs with the palmo B virus infection. Now, how to diagnose a case of spherocytosis? In the blood film shows spherocyte and reticulocytes. Family history is positive because this is mostly autosomal dominant disease. There is splenomegaly. The evidence of hemolysis is shown by the reticulocytosis, indirect hyperbilirubinemia, decreased haptoglobin, presence of gallstones and ultrasound, and the hemoglobin level is usually 6 to 10 gram per deciliter. RBCs on the blood film vary in size and include polychromatophilic reticulocytes and spherocytes. The osmotic fragility test is positive. Erythral hyperplasia is present in the bone marrow biopsy. Marrow expansion is apparent on axis of bone. So, in the diagnosis, the blood film shows spherocyte and reticulocytes. The mist is positive, there is splenomegaly. There is reticulocytosis, indirect hyperbilirubinemia, decreased haptoglobin level, and gallstones on ultrasonography of abdomen. Hemoglobin level is usually 6 to 10 gram per deciliter. RBC in the blood film varying size and include polychromatic reticulocytes and spherocytes. The osmotic fragility test is positive and erythroid hyperplasia is present in the bone marrow biopsy, and the bone marrow expansion is apparent on the X-rays of the bones. Now this is a picture showing hereditary spherocyte. You can see the spherocytes in the picture. They are rounded RBCs. Management is splenectomy after 5 to 6 years of age. Folic acid 1 milligram per day is given. Vaccines like pneumococcus, meningococcus, and H. influenza type B should be given before splenectomy, about 2 weeks before splenectomy. We give prophylactic oral penicillin B 250 milligram twice daily up to adulthood after splenectomy. Partial splenectomy may be useful in children younger than 5 years. Now, sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a hemoglobinopathy causing hemolytic anemia. On screening hemoglobin, we have hemoglobin SS, hemoglobin S with hereditary persistent of fetal hemoglobin, or hemoglobin S beta thalassemia if at least 50% of the hemoglobin is hemoglobin S. So these are the various forms of sickle cell anemia. What is a pathogenisis? There is an abnormal autosomal gene that substitutes the valine for glutamic acid in the sick position of the beta globin chain. This results in an unusual solubility problem in the deoxygenated state, and under conditions of hypoxia, the hemoglobin aggregates and RBCs become sickle-shaped. There is shortened red blood cell survival due to hemolytic anemia. There is microvascular obstruction, which leads to tissue ischemia infarction due to these sickle-shaped RBCs. Clinical finding. In the asymptomatic period, The high levels of hemoglobin F during fetal life and the first few months of postnatal life protect the patient. In the earliest clinical manifestation may occur at 4 to 6 months of age, and these include dactylitis. In dactylitis, there is mytic painful swelling of the dorsal surfaces of the hands and feet, which is also called hand-foot syndrome. Dactylitis means inflammation of digits. So there is symmetric painful swelling of dorsal surfaces of the hands and feet, which is also called hand-foot syndrome. And it is caused by avascular necrosis of bone marrow of the metacarpal and metatarsal bones. Less progressive anemia, jaundice, and splenomegaly. Splenic sequestration crisis is a life-threatening problem. The spleen is rapidly enlarged with trapping of blood and hypovolemia with drop in the hemoglobin of at least 2 grams per deciliter. This can lead to hypovolemic shock and death. So it's a very serious condition, splenic sequestration crisis. Fever, the patient are very susceptible to overwhelming infections, particularly with encapsulated bacteria like pneumococcus and Anthrax and salmonella, leading to septicemia and osteomyelitis. Spleen does not perform its filtering function for microorganisms. There may be aplastic crisis, which can occur at any age. There is suppression of erythropoiesis in response to viral infections such as parvovirus. Veno-occlusive episodes can involve any tissue. There may be abdominal pain, bone pain, cerebrovascular accidents, pulmonary infarction, hepatopathy, and hematuria due to veno-occlusion by the sickle cell. Acute chest syndrome is characterized by fever, raised periodic chest pain, and pulmonary infiltrates on the chest X-ray. Repeated veno-occlusive episodes in the spleen lead to infarction, fibrosis, and regression, and spleen is impalpable after 5 years of age. Late manifestations are long-term consequences of chronic anemia, tissue hemosidosis, tissue infarction, gallstones, leg ulcers, renal damage, and aseptic necrosis of long bones. Diagnosis, hemoglobin level up to 7 to 10 grams per deciliter. This may fall severely in cases of sequestration and aplastic crisis. Reticulocyte count is markedly elevated. Anemia during normocytic and or macrocytic. Blood may show sickle and Down cell. Hemoglobin electrophoresis is to identify a sickle disorder. So we can identify a sickle disorder on electrophoresis. This is a peripheral blood picture of sickle cell anemia. You can see the sickle shape RBCs and also you can see the target cell. Now the management of sickle cell anemia, we have to protect the child from overwhelming gram-positive sepsis and prevention of veno-occlusive episodes by avoidance of dehydration, hypoxia, chilling, and acidosis. Treatment of veno-occlusive episodes is analgesics for pain, transfusion with packed RBCs, and for repeated attacks, a chronic transfusion program to keep hemoglobin S levels at less than 30%. Aplastic crisis require transfusion with packed RBCs, hydroxyurea. Hemoglobin F correlates inversely with the disease severity, painful episode, dactylitis, etc. So, dose of hydroxyurea is 15 to 20 mg per kg once daily with 5 mg per kg increments every 8 weeks with a maximum of 35 mg per kg per day. Hydroxyurea increases the hemoglobin F level, which is protective. Hematopoietic stem cell transplant is also done. Now, what is the prognosis? Early identification of the infant with sickle cell disease and comprehensive care produces mortality in childhood. Most patients now live well into the adulthood but may develop complications. Now this is all. ये क्वेश्चन आंसर खोल दे जरा अनम्यूट कर दे